of his experiences in Africa over that time. So,
Sure. Okay,
take it
thanks
away.
very much. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. What a wonderful turnout and welcome. There's a number of you from the Davis community, so this is fantastic you came here. So look, this is a different kind of departmental seminar because usually every week it's science. This isn't science per se, but it's it's about a continent, that is Africa. And it's different not just in content, but also in technology. And that is that what I've done is, and there's only one other time I've seen this happen, and that was 4 years ago when I presented the seminar, and that is that I stitched together the video content, the pictures that my wife and I take, and PowerPoint into a video. And so that's what I'm going to narrate here. And so it's always an experiment. I think it worked last time. I hope that it works this time. And so once I click start here, it's off to the races. And some of these I get behind a little bit, I'm afraid. But anyway, I'll try to keep up. And there's a lot of content here. And it's really just a medley of these different categories of the wildlife, the natural wonders, and the indigenous cultures. And so there's no class after this, so that I know people have to go and pick up kids and everything like that. But there'll be time for questions after this, and so that we'll have time. So I'm going to, whoops here. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and we'll see if how this goes. Okay, so the background here, I start out with background and a little bit about Africa. Look, it's about 5,000 miles square. And if you superimpose the U.S. on it, it looks like this. And in fact, the Sahara Desert's bigger than the U.S. So you have this Maghreb at the North Africa, Sahara Desert, the Sahel area, and then the Bight. You have the equatorial tropics, it's only 8%, and then the Horn of Africa. This is Lake Victoria, the Rift right in there, Namib Desert, the Kalahari, Madagascar, and there's the Atlantic and Indian Ocean. The African countries that my wife and I, Patty, explored were basically the ones in yellow: Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Congo we got into, Tanzania, and then in southern Africa, the Namibia, South Africa, and so forth. These are kingdoms, the Swaziland and Lesotho. Now the organization, as I said, is that it's wildlife adventures, the natural wonders, and then people and culture. So that's how I've organized here. I'm going to jump right in. We start with wildlife adventures, and we get into gorillas. This is from Virunga National Park in the Congo. We got into this year. We've been to Uganda a few years before. So here, this is a gorilla range. You're going to see here a map in the upper right there. That's where they're located. And it's at the border of 3 different countries. One, you have Uganda, and it's the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. So we went there. Rwanda, Volcanoes National Park. And then the Congo, which I'm going to show you a video of, the Virunga National Park here. So a few years ago, we went to Bwindi, but this time we went from Goma to into this Virunga National Park. And so you can see here the permits. Uganda is $600. Rwanda is off the charts at $1,500. We paid $200 because it was off season, but it's $400 in the Congo. So here's this. Here we are. You can see the volcano up there to the right. This is Virunga National Park. This is what it looks like in the Congo this year. And so we're going through up the mountain into the gorilla area here. Here's the pre-trek briefing. There were about 3 other groups that were with us here. And so anyway, you get briefed. Here we are in the jungle, basically. There's Patty, my wife, right up front. And so we're walking. This is fairly easy walking relative to Uganda, which was basically ravines up and down. Anyway, we cut into the jungle, and you can see there just the density of the vegetation. Then we made the trackers here, and so they tracked the gorillas. And so you're going to see the first sighting of the silverback right here. We're right on top of these. You know, and we're supposed to keep 20 feet away, but you really can't. And so there they are. It was kind of a bum rush of 3 different silverbacks. You can't see the 3rd one. And so to protect the whole troop, basically. There's a juvenile right in there. You can see we're right on top of these things. And it was just an incredible experience for this gorilla trek. So we'll just watch this just a bit. By the way, there's about 1,000. There used to be 800 or 900. They're critically endangered. Now they're moved to the endangered status. There's about 1,000 mountain gorillas. Okay, they differ from the lowland gorillas. They have thick fur and just a different subspecies of gorilla. And so here He is, they sort of like are showing off, and here he spins right here, and so you see that. And then you're going to see a mother come up and sort of pull him off here. There she comes. And okay, let's go see. Anyway, now we're going to see here the. Yep. Okay, get up. Let's go. There's the one of the silverbacks, and you know, there's a dignity and a majesty to these animals. It's just unbelievable, and. So these are habituated, yeah, there's about 1,000 individuals. These are habituated, not all groups are. I took this shot just to give you a sense of the salad bowl that they live in. It's just, you can, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you just plop down and they can eat. But they're vegetarians, and that's all, you know, much of the day, like any herbivore, they just spend eating. But there's a big silverback there. And next, yeah, here's a mother, and you can see this infant. The parental care here is just amazing. And here she is inspecting his feet, I guess. But it's really, really intense parental care. They stay with the mother about 4 years or so, or more. And you're going to see in this next shot here, watch her swing it up in her back. And there she goes. And there it is, okay, off to the next spot here. But you can see that, there's a guy that you can see right there. That's how close we were. She was right below me, and we're just right on top of her. And so there's that. And then when we come out, there it is, the UC Davis gorilla doctors. And so, by the way, UC Davis cares for all the mountain gorillas in all 3 of these areas. Here's a great white shark cage. There we go. Okay. This isn't all it's cracked up to be, but anyway, we thought we were going to go cage diving here, so we go great white shark. It's in South Africa here, so we're headed out. There's the bait, or the chum buckets, basically. And then so we're going to throw the chum out there. This is sort of what it's like. This is not Blue Lagoon, let me tell you. And so there's a shark cage. Patty and I didn't go down in it. It's just freezing cold. And you can see the murky water. So there's some summer sighting. We saw about a dozen sightings or so, but that's it. You know, they come up and they grab the chum and then disappear. We were on top of the boat, so we just thought this is a lot better place than down in that cold cage. And, so anyway, there's a great white, there's a shark coming in. So anyway, there's that. Look, wild dogs. These were critically endangered, now they're endangered. But there's an elephant carcass we saw alongside the road, and you can see the wild dogs right in there. And so then it started to rain, so they're just hanging out. Then it started to rain like crazy, the tropical thunderstorm, and we went away, went into the park, and then, so there it is, trying to find shelter. And so let's see, yeah, there we are. We've been in the park, and now we're coming back. It's just unbelievable, rain. But then it stopped. Then it stopped, and lo and behold, there's the elephant carcass was off to the left. They're moving after the rainstorm. By the way, the wild dogs are also called the painted wolves, yeah. And move in packs, this is about a dozen, 10 to 12 dogs, and there they were. I've been there 5 or 6 years to Africa, never see a wild dog, and all of a sudden there's a dozen of them. We're going to see a little bit later, there's one in Eagle Island when we went to Okavango Delta. They're endangered, yep. And so they're just hanging out. So you can see that one right there in front, they're limping. The guide thought it had a, maybe a porcupine quill. I'm into health a bit, and that really caught my attention. We looked for the animals when we were out in safari that were looked unhealthy or injured like that. Okay, here they are, just unbelievable, really. Yeah. So we were on this trip. This last year with my in-laws. Okay, jump ahead here. So elephant herds. This is Chobe National Park in Botswana, and so that here we were parked this boat. There were probably several hundred elephants in this meadow that came down in the morning. It was just unbelievable. And just as perspective, we'd been to Chobe, Patty and I, before, and we didn't see much of anything. We just thought this was really not a park to go to. And this time we just hit the jackpot. It was unbelievable. Okay. And so we docked on shore for lunch. There you see one other boat there, but otherwise we had pretty much to ourselves. And a couple of young bull elephants there. This one just came right up to our boat while we were eating lunch and just kind of had his own lunch here. So. Yeah. By the way, some of these parks, not Chobe, I guess, but certainly Kruger we were at, they have an overpopulation problem. And the only solution really is culling. And you don't just pick out the old and senile. You have to kill whole families. You can imagine the public relations problem with that is that the babies and the adults and the matriarchs and the bulls and everything else is a huge problem in Kruger. They'd have to kill about 1,000 a year to take them from 15,000 to 10,000, and then about 500 a year after that. I worked this out for, I just have a book that will be published later, but we worked this out as an example of culling. Here's the close encounters with elephants. A couple. This is in wetland. Right. You can see this one's under musk. I'm in the car with the pointing the camera there, and it's like, whoa. Yeah. It's like this one was serious. We just had to get out of it. Here's another one in Addo Elephant Park in South Africa just this past February. And we decided that he was going to walk over the car or through the car, not around the car. So we decided we needed to back up. This is a huge, you never play chicken with an elephant. And so we backed up here, and you can just get a sense of the size here. It's just a humongous elephant. Okay, here's a dung beetle, speaking of elephant dung. This is in Lucia, and so this isn't entomology department. This is 3 times speed, but these are great big, they look like little hummingbirds when you fly. I thought it was a hummingbird, one of these when I was flying, when you see it zip by. But there they are, the dung beetles, and they roll and they're gonna bury. I have a little schematic here I'm gonna show in just a second, but you get the idea here. And they're just, yeah, here it is. So they cut and shape the bolus. This is out of Scientific American, I found it. Then they roll it to this burial spot, and then they bury it, dig it down half a meter sometimes, I read, and then they lay a single egg, and from that will produce another dung beetle. This is a wildebeest great migration in Serengeti. Serengeti, by the way, is everything is cracked up to be. It was unbelievable. So this is it. It's about 130 square kilometers and just beautiful. There's the zebras and wildebeest, and so that they congregate. There's about 1.2 million wildebeests that migrate and 200,000 zebras, and they mix together. The zebras eat the tall grass, the wildebeest eats the shorter grass. There's some complementarity there. Anyway, as we were going, and we saw this, and it's unbelievable, we saw this running wildebeest way up ahead. It said, it's going to cross our road. And there it was, so we just parked and watched these. It was just unbelievable. And we were really lucky to find this moving herd. They're called megaherds. It's not all of them move at once. They form sort of megaherds. There's no leader. And so there they are, just when you see that one just cut off there, they're kind of cheating, we said. Cut off. Yeah. And so anyway, I could have sat there all day and just watched them stream by. And so you see here, they're going to cross the road and see these babies. This is actually a month when they were giving birth, so you see some of these young ones. I have a little clip here. You're going to see one stumbles, just about gets run over, basically does get run over. There it goes right in here. Okay, look at that. Okay, then I'm going to have a clip here. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. There's about 3 times head over heels. And, you know, its mother, probably, assuming it was running with its mother, moved, you know, 100 feet ahead. How they figure all this out is beyond me, but apparently they do. So there's that. So the wildebeest is just this is one of the wonders of the world, really. Okay, this one I just called Marching Springbok. This is in the Kalahari Trans-Frontier. It's right on the border of Botswana and South Africa and Namibia. And so they're just walking down this dry riverbed. And now it just showed there's 90 antelopes in the world, 70 of which species are in Africa. So I zipped through a few slides here just to show the variety here. And so here's some of the large ones, the eland. You can just watch these. I'll take a drink of water here. So, but there's just a huge variety. You change parts, you change countries, and you get into all different species. African lions. We've all seen those, but this is unique. This is the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania. It's the southern part of the Serengeti. And this is the largest inactive volcano. It's about 5 miles across. It's considered one of the 7 wonders of Africa. And there were 4 lions that were coming in for the day. And every one of them came up, and you see that marking? They mark a Land Rover. And all 4 of them. We thought, well, there's the first one. That's pretty interesting. But now watch this one. And so, yeah, there it is. And so they just mark, I guess it's part of their drill. Okay, this is Okavango Delta. Okavango Delta is in Eden. And so you can see here, there it is. The rains from Angola flood this, and so there it is, the rains that comes down, the rainlets, about several months basically. We flew from Vic Falls to Eagle Island, right in the middle of the delta, right in there. There's the Eagle Island Lodge. And give you a perspective on this lodge. So there it is, the river that never finds the sea. So it empties into the Kalahari. Anyway, this is an unbelievable lodges. I'm going to talk about that towards the end here. This is listed for over $3,000 a night per person. We pay nothing like that, and nor should anybody here, it seems to be. But you get a sense of the high-end luxury lodge. George Allen of the Microsoft, George Allen, stayed there a few years before. So we fly from around Vic Falls. Here's the bush plane that we take in. The flight itself is almost worth the whole trip because you're flying over this savanna and this delta region. So here it is, about an hour-and-a-half flight, and here we are just coming into this lodge, Eagle Island Lodge, and so yeah, here we are. It's just an adventure in itself. So there's my in-laws, and then we had Tony and Lanny Winberry at the attorney over in Sacramento. They all went together for this. Anyway, we picked up in a Land Rover. Here's our greeting. Okay, and then we start walking. There it is, this humongous elephant again, just feeding right there. Okay, now this is one of the little safaris we went on through in the Okavango Delta. There's a spotted hyena, one of the most common hyenas in Africa, and again, you can just sit there and just watch these all day. So there's one, and then here's a wild dog. It was a lone wild dog rolling around. And then it comes over, you'll see in just a second here, it comes over and marks right by our vehicle. And so there it is. And just hung out for a very long time. I just have a short clip here and then it just takes off. But it's fascinating. And so then you can go on, here's some African buffalo. By the way, this is the Delta is one of the few places you can drive off-road. Kruger, you have to stay on the highways. And but in Okavango it floods every year, so that the tracks are flooded. Horseback Safari. Now there's one. And so we thought, well, if 2 hours is good, 4 hours is twice as good, right? Forget that. And we came back. There's Patty getting on the. I think I have a little. Okay, that was dubbed, but anyways. Okay, anyway, then we go out and then we go down the beach. Here you can see the beach here. This would have been the 2-hour ride, which was just about right. But we thought, well, this is only a one-shot deal, so we signed up for the other 2 hours. And you go off where you can ride with the animals. And so you see that clip in just a bit. By the way, you can gallop these horses there. You could probably not do it in the U.S. Anyway, by this time we were just so sore. And so I cut out the last part. I promised Patty I wouldn't show it, but we were just really in bad shape. So you can ride them among the wildebeests and the zebras and all that. Okay, next section, natural wonders. We start off with Victoria Falls. This is a wonder of the world. It's in Zimbabwe. And so there it is. This is the Zambezi River. And it is just a sight to behold, let me tell you. They call it smoke that thunders. And so you can walk about a mile up and down this. It's one of the longest waterfalls in the world. And so this is Vic Falls. That's all I have on that. I mean, it was just There it is, you will see it and then you leave. Anyway, Kalahari Desert. To give you a sense of that, this is the Kalahari Transfrontier Park. It's on the border of these three countries. There's a sign as we go down the road. I just go through pictures here. This is the Kalahari Desert. It's actually a semi-desert, I learned. It gets a few more inches of rain than what's classified as a desert. But anyway, there's some of the wildlife there. Weaver bird, nest, wildebeest, tortoise, there we are, settler's cabin, and so forth, okay? It's just, we're driving here, there's what it looks like. We got stuck, and this is just like a baby powder, really. It's just fine, fine sand. And so here's the marching, Mata. This is lodge we stayed in. There's a tenant camp that we stayed, blackback jackal, yellow mongoose, giraffes, just fascinating. All this in the, this is all in the Kalahari Desert, okay? And yeah, this is a long photo. This is from an observation height. This is Patty right here. And a brown hyena, these are not that common. It's really interesting. There's a quiver tree. Okay, this Phil Ward helped me out on this, the harvester ants. And just to give you a sense of the Kalahari again. And so this is really interesting. So I just pan up here to give you a sense of the terrain. And there's that. Okay, Olduvai Gorge. This is an iconic place in Tanzania. We had to visit that. They're entering. And this is basically known as the cradle of mankind. It's where the Leakeys did their work in the 50s. Mary Leakey found this Australopithecus in the 50s, 58. This is a monolith right in there. So we show you a clip here where we just drive down into the gorge itself, and then we're going to see the plaque for the Leakeys. So that's the gorge. Here we are driving down, and yeah, there we are. So there's my our travel partners and Patty. And so you can see there's the plaque, famous plaque. The skull of Australopithecus boisei was found by Mary Leakey in 1958. Fish River Canyon in Namibia. This is the Grand Canyon of Africa. And so there's, yeah, there it is. Largest in Africa, 100 miles long, 500 meters deep. And so there's a pan of that. Just we stayed at the edge of the crater in a lodge there. Unbelievably windy, really windy. So anyway, now hot air ballooning. This is not for the, if you're going on a budget. It costs $600 a shot, but it's worth it if you can pull it off. So there it is. You get up in the morning, probably just like you do here if you're in the country. And so there it is. We're going over to Serengeti. This is actually the second one we've been on. We've been in the Masai Mara a few years before. But, yeah, okay. There it is. There's the pilot. We're going up. So there we are. It lasts about an hour. Float over this is just magical. Just if you've been up in balloon before, it's just a quiet. There's a wildebeest herd. We're looking down. There's trails. Just fascinating. So if you can afford it, it's definitely worth it. That's all the Serengeti right in there. Okay. And then let's see. Yeah. Okay. A little bit more. And then we're going to have a brunch in the bush. You'll see that in a couple sides. There we are. So this is part of the whole experience, you know. So they have, you know, really put on a spread here. And it's part of fun. Also, yeah, there it is. This guy on the left there played his video game the whole time. It was unbelievable. His wife dragged him on this. It's like Patty and I are looking over. It's unbelievable. They fly into the bush like this and they play a video game. Okay, Crocodile Centre. This is St. Lucia, South Africa. And so that's a crocodile feeding. And so, by the way, you want to be here at feeding time. This is a big, a couple of big ones. But the feeding time, you know, if you ever go to one of these, find out when the feeding time is. It works out. That is, they get fed once a week. And so find out what day that is if you're around and plan your trip, and so you can watch them be fed. So these are the great big ones. It's the juveniles I'm going to show in just a couple seconds here. You'll see is a lot more interesting. But anyway, these are huge crocodiles. There it is. Okay. So these are the juveniles here. And so they're all keyed up, ready to be fed. Oh yeah, big thunderstorm coming, and okay, we're gonna, yeah, there we go. Okay, so this like scrambled. Yeah. You know, if they miss out on one of these, it's another week before they feed again. So I guess they got to go for it. But, okay. This guy that the guide there was he was the kind of a crocodile Dundee type and really into it. So, okay.
These guys back there, I don't matter.
Okay. There, we've got caught in this. There's a tropical thunderstorm. The skies just open up and really comes down. Show that. Yep, there it is. Okay, the Congo. Don't forget, this is not Africa. This is the Congo. This is not the 190 other countries you visited. This is the Congo. Past experience in Africa is worse than irrelevant. That's in the Congo. It is different. Chukudu, this is a pickup truck. And so we went into the Congo, and this is near Goma, and you can see these. It's just a different country. It's really a hard life. And just a different culture. And so these Jakudus you can see. Just really interesting. And yeah, there it is. They are really hostile towards taking pictures. I had to kind of sneak those in. There's a weekly market in Ethiopia. And so this is a livestock part of the market, but there were food and textiles and all that. This is in the Bina tribe. And so Patty finds all these amazing things to do, and this is one of them. Visit the market. Here is a pool table as we walk in. I can't believe it. You're going to see this guy waves his finger. They just, well, this is Ethiopia. It's not quite as bad. But this is the goat market and cattle market for that matter. And so we walked around in that, one of the few tourists here. But anyway, that's a market. That's how they weigh the goats. Yeah. And yeah, okay, so there's that's where they sell. It's a livestock market. They buy and sell there. That's what it's about. So let's see. So here, see that big tree there? We said, okay, what's going on over there? So our guide took us there. And this is sort of a social gathering for the weekend at the market. And so this guide knew everybody in this village, this group. And so they're drinking beer. And so this is like, I think we decided to pass on that beer. And, so there's that. Okay, look. Here's another one in Ethiopia, and that is, we're driving along. By the way, you see all these animals on the road? They're all over. It's just an unbelievable number of animals. That's how they drive. So anyway, it started to rain, and watch to the right here, because all of a sudden it's like, what's going on? And so you can see that on the right there, that little river that just formed as we're going through. And there it is. And this guy played his radio all the time. Anyway, there it is. See the river to the right and the front. It's a raging river. And so we got blocked there for about an hour and a half or so to wait for it to subside. But there it is. And watch this. We're going to see a little boy here that was trapped right there. So you can see that this small boy, you can just see how dangerous this could be. He could have been swept away and never to be seen again, basically. So there's a flash flood. Finally, it subsided. They could cross from the other side and take their livestock back home, and then we can, and the vehicles can get across as we do. Yep, there we go. Okay. Okay, museums. I wanted to touch on those. You get over to Africa, check these out. They're just definitely worth it. The Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg, Genocide Museum in Kigali, Rwanda, Human Origins in Johannesburg, and the National Museum in Addis Ababa. There's the Apartheid in Johannesburg, and just a perspective on Apartheid. Institutional racial segregation, basically, white supremacy. And apartheid laws, these were laws, racial group classification, so everybody had a classification. Group areas that were moved to townships, and a mixed marriage. You can see Trevor Noah, he wrote a book, Born a Crime. In fact, he had a white mother, black father. or maybe the other way around. Anyway, Kigali Genocide Museum, there's 200,000 of the people that were killed in this genocide buried there. It's a very moving museum. I just touch on it a little bit here. Then there's the Rwanda genocide. It was 1994. Hutu murdered Tutsi and moderate Hutu. 70% of all the Tutsi were lost, and they estimated 800,000, but anyway, 5 to 100,000 to 1 million that were killed. Okay. Then you have the Origin Center. We wanted to see that. We were in Johannesburg, so why not step by and just have a couple or 3 pictures on this. But it's fascinating, you know, all the, you know, it's the real deal there of the origins and the original skeletons and that sort of thing. So there it is. There's Lucy right there in the National Museum of Ethiopia. Okay. And anyway, here's one in the Drakensberg Mountains of South Africa. Patty and I took a hike here. We're the only ones at this, I mean, at that time. And again, this is off-season. It's a great time to go. So there we are. These are the Drakensberg Mountains, which are the east, kind of central South Africa, eastern part. And so there it is. This is about a 6-mile walk. And definitely got harder than where it shows right there. It was a good, healthy hike up. A wonderful guide. You're going to hear from him, not just here, but in this next section too. Just really smart. And so there we are approaching, but you can see that beautiful vista there in the Drakensberg Mountains. And so here we are. These are the best rock paintings in the world. Many thousands of years old. So he walked through all this. There's obviously stories associated with that. And just really an impressive guide, impressive paintings, and just fascinating. It definitely worth the trek all the way up. Okay.
On the rock, not only blood,
okay. So just a few pictures of these paintings, but unbelievable. Okay, so, okay, there's a panorama of the Drakensberg Mountains. So there it is. Okay, people and culture. Start out with, in fact, the guide. 4 African click language sounds. This is the guide at the rock art.
That's a Zulu click, which it starts with a Q. For example, if I'm saying, that's a Zulu, so the tongue has to go up. But there is a second one for a Xhosa, where the tongue has to go on the side, like when you call a horse, like something like that. Oh. And then the other one, it's with the C, so the tongue has to go in between the teeth, like Ela, Abanga, Uba. That's with the E's. And then the last one, it's with the Q and the H, so the tongue has to go down, like for example, Kalile, Kekile, Eda. So those are the 4 clicks we have.
He spoke 7 languages, just amazing. So this is a singing fisherman on Lake Kivu. Lake Kivu is on the border of Rwanda and Congo. This is kind of a cadence so they all stroke at once. Basically why they sing on the way out and the way in. Use lights on these poles, they get these little tiny fish, sort of minnow type fish. Okay, here's a demonstration of physics, right? Okay, demonstrates a Coriolis force in the southern and northern hemispheres. This guy, this is interesting, so I'll let him, you can just watch. Tell me how he did it. So he's going to show that it's like the water drains in different directions depending on the hemisphere.
After the experiment, backward water and here water beads are being going, but clearly, appears the indicator on the surface of the water. Any kind of a floating object, just an indicator. There's no.
So it goes clockwise.
I sped this up, obviously. The myth, water in the drain in different directions. Okay, now he goes to the other hemisphere. It looks pretty legitimate. I don't know how he did it, but it goes in the other direction. Okay, now he goes right smack dab on the equator, and And it doesn't spin.
Good job.
Yeah, okay, so we got our certificates. They cost us $5. we passed, I guess. Okay, so, but anyway, it's like a magic trick. It's like it's worth it. Okay, this is a township. Townships are underdeveloped, racially segregated urban areas for non-whites in South Africa. This is a township that comes out of apartheid. Okay, mandated apartheid in 1948, ended with Nelson Mandela's election. Shipping container house. So this is one of our stuff. There's one other guy, a Japanese guy that was on, came along with
Here on top of the chair.
So she lives there alone in this container. That's her world.
Then after that, there's nothing that actually. Excuse me.
So now we go to a little apartment complex there, one-room apartment with 8 family members. There's one woman here, a young woman that was on a seat there that was really just really hostile, basically. She's really upset with the whole situation. But there's their world. 8 people living in this place together. I get the impression that's kind of what they do all day.
So government tried to give these people privacy by making walls.
Yeah, she was really. Like, what can you do for us? I wish we could do something. Actually.
That certifies you.
Yeah.
There is a free.
Okay, now we go to this shack.
Can you come in?
Pictures okay?
Yes.
Now this is the world of this older couple right here. Oh yeah, slum tourism.
Welcome to a shack.
Say poverty is
So
entertainment.
they are the old
Shack, they used to live in the old beer hall where we just came from, but they were moved by government to the shipping containers. They couldn't stand it. They saw it. They couldn't. So they saw this empty space. They came here. They've occupied it without consulting government. So the only thing that they are paying for here, it's electricity, because we all buy electricity. Occupying the spaces for free, as I've already explained to you. Water is for free.
No, what is this?
This is like a wine.
It's a wine?
Yeah.
For the appetite.
It's too early in the
Too
morning.
early in the morning. So when it comes out of building a shack, you have a freedom of choice. You choose whether you want to buy a shack which is built by professionals, or you collect material and you build it yourself. So a shack which is built by professionals is going to cost you 8,000 rand.
But by the way, we went to Soweto in Johannesburg. It wasn't anywhere near as good of a tour. So here we are in this tribe, Ndere tribe, and we're going down, heading down to the dugouts for crossing the river. This is in Ethiopia in the Omo Valley. See a guy taking a bath down there as we come down right there. Anyway, these dugouts, this is the real deal. That's how they get around. By the way, these aren't like living museums. These are where people live. And so here we're crossing. This is a family crossing, you know, and we're going the other direction, obviously. Here we are on the other side, helping Patty. And so there's the village. You can see this approaching fenced village right there. And so that's obviously their houses here. See there.
As I told you, the woman they are making a house, huh?
Oh yeah, can we go look?
By the way, having both still picture and video on a trip like this is just, the video adds another dimension. Anyway, here they're building the house. You get a sense of the house. I'm fascinated with the houses. This is a step up from one you're going to see in just a bit. But the women are building the house here. The men are out with the livestock, so it's not like they're not doing anything. But so we walk around.
How old is she? What are we at?
Young men playing a board game here. There's only a few thousand of these. These populations are not huge, you know. And so, and maybe a unique language. And so here's a young woman dancing at the end of the tour. Okay, this is the Mursi Tribe, again the Omo Valley. And so this is 2 cameras. They charge for this, and so that there were 2 cameras, 3 people, and so it was 6 times the price, right? So anyway, these are the Mursi, and they're the ones with the lip plates. And they don't wear these all the time because they're as uncomfortable, I guess, as they look. But anyway, so we went around, and so yeah, there's their houses. Different, each one has a different kind. Each tribe has a different, unique housing concept, architecture. And you're going to see here, coming up here, we asked a woman if she'd put her plate in and out. So here's the plate. These are wood or clay. Yeah, imagine doing that every morning, I'll tell you. It's, these are not, this disfigurement, it's a myth I read where it's not to discourage, you know, so they wouldn't be taken as slaves, the women. This is actually a status concept that they wear these lip plates, okay? So that was interesting. Now here's the Hadza Tribe in Tanzania. We went really back in the bush for this one. And these are some of the original Bushmen. And so, you know, several hours we were going back, and here they are, they're greeting us. This is a baboon skin, by the way. Listen to that click, see that? It's a click language. This guy coming up, this is an ace, you're going to see that in the bow and arrow in just a bit, okay?
What kind of fur is this?
That is baboon skin.
Yeah.
Baboon skin, wow.
Yeah, these are all these camp dogs. All of them just ribs show. But anyway, then we had fire making, and I failed at that. But then we had bow and arrow.
Yeah. Wow.
And so these guys are just they hunt. You know, there's only a few thousand of these, and there's only 300 I read. Oh, watch this guy. He's really good.
Wow.
And 300 that actually hunt and gather, and this is some of them. So here I am on the worst archer in the camp, and so I actually had 2 shots, and the first one I missed, but you'll see I succeeded. I had to resurrect my dignity here, so see, I just pull it barely back. These are actually hard. Okay. Okay. That made my day here. Look at those. There's their huts, and really they're just you know, pretty primitive. Here's the women of the camp hanging out. Patty bought, we all bought, or we bought some of their things that they had to sell. This is the Konso Valley tribe. You can see this. This is 800-year-old. It's a UNESCO heritage site. I hadn't seen hoop rolling for a long time. As we pulled up, there was hoop rolling. But look at that. It's just a you know, fascinating labyrinth of houses. The adults were really camera shy, and so we didn't get too many shots there. By the way, water is a huge part. Anybody that's been to Africa is to get water. They're all this big job for the kids in. Many times. So here's Patty, it's kind of the Pied Piper there, the kids coming along. By the way, the kids, in one of these, the kids hold your hand and they expect to buy a pair of shoes, which we did. Not in this one, but that marketplace, we bought shoes for the young kids. Here's the Serena Hotel. Every hotel you have some sort of entertainment. So here was one, we were at the Ngora Gorge crater. And this is part of their entertainment. You can see the drummers in back there, but this guy in stilts. And so there's their entertainment. Okay, there they are. Okay, that's what the tourists do. Okay, this is Paradiso. This is Lake Kivu. Remember the fishermen. This is where Patty and I were sitting there, one other couple. This tribe comes in for the, and that's what it was. It was pretty dark. Just generator driven, a little bit of firelight, and there they are. See the headdresses there. It was really, I mean, there's like 4 people in this whole, yeah, 2 other persons present. And, but it was really had an African feel to it. We're deep in Africa, in Rwanda and Congo. This is the cultural center in Uganda. This is obviously much more produced. So this was about a 2-hour production, and it was that high energy for all 2 hours. It was unbelievable. Okay, this is Lake Manyara in Tanzania, Serena Hotel. And so you find at every place, again, you have some entertainment. These are on the sidewalk outside of the hotel. And some of these guys are just, really, really talented. That's how they make their living, obviously. Okay, let's watch Okay, so here it is. We fly. This is a long flight. It's 25,000 miles per trip. We've taken 8 trips, 200,000 miles. That's 2 weeks on the plane. There's our airplane food. Okay, so there it is. Okay, we always get stuck with somebody like this. Okay. And then, of course, screaming babies. How many transatlantic flights have we had from screaming babies? Okay, anyway, there it is. Here's the Africa travel advice. Book with somebody in Africa, this booking is just, there's something special there. I'll talk about it after this. Driving, don't be afraid to self-drive. We drove self-driven, total driven, probably 12,000 miles, much of it self-drive. Safaris, this is going too fast here, I'll pick it up in Q&A here. Technology, get on electric strip, there's usually one outlet in a hotel. Safety, it's just common sense. And I'll talk about all this. Acknowledgement, Patty is just an unbelievable partner with this and has done all this. And so anyway, I wanted to acknowledge her. And so anyway, there it is. Thanks very much.